Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today I want to talk about one of the finest guitar players ever. And he's someone who's mentioned in the same breath as people like John McLaughlin, Al Di Meola, Alan Holdsworth, the sort of great, sort of leading men of the 70s fusion explosion. But Larry Coryell was someone who, even in that esteemed company, and he knew all those guys and he collaborated with them at times, but Larry Coryell was someone who was unique even in a room of unique people for his style. I would describe his style as one that pushed things so far that they almost fell apart, and you never knew, is this gonna hold together? This sort of manic, beautiful, amazingly fast solo, and it always just about did. And that was sort of the excitement and the tension built into Larry Coryell's playing. Now, Larry Coryell recorded a lot of music in his time, and I really would invite all of you listening to this to take a deep dive into it. But a good place to start would be with his band 11th House, which was his fusion project of the early 70s, early to mid 70s. The debut album was 74, and it had a wonderful, wonderful lineup. It was, of course, Larry on guitar, Randy Brecker on trumpet and French horn, from the wonderful Brecker brothers. One of the greatest drummers of all time. I've done some videos on him. I put him on my list of best drummers, Alphonse Mouzon, and he is absolutely on fire on this album. And to round it out, you've got Mike Mandel on piano and synth, great, great player, and Danny Triffin on bass. Just a great lineup. And this album, it's one of these albums where if you like fusion, you know that this is one of the finest fusion albums of all time. If you don't like fusion, or worse yet, don't really know what fusion is, this is one of those albums that I actually think is a really good introduction to the fusion genre. It's got the speed, it's got the intensity, it's got, air conditioned, stereo and all that. But it's just a great album, as is the follow up called Level One, which can basically continued where this left off. Just really, really wonderful stuff. And then, another album that I think is even more out there in a way is Aspects, the final official 11th House album of the Golden Era. And it had a slightly different lineup by that time, but still really, really good stuff. You even had James Ntume, who I've talked about as one of the great composers and producers of modern soul, funk, and R&B. So check those out and just take a deep dive into all of the stuff he's done. He's played with McLaughlin, he's played with Paco de Lucia, he's played with so many of these great guitarists. And I would say that Larry Coryell is equally good on electric and acoustic, and he brings that same sort of in-your-face manic style on both. If you're looking for music that's very sort of refined and calm and predictable, this ain't it. If you're looking for something that's sort of more hardcore, certainly in the case of 11th House, than most of the rock stuff that you've heard subsequent to this, check it out and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He really was a true original. Gone too soon, but he recorded so much good stuff in his lifetime. You do not want to miss it. As always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.